You did not arrive here by chance. You were guided here by something greater than your own curiosity. Something ancient, something purposeful, something divine moved you to this exact place at this exact moment in time. Heaven does not waste appointments, and this is one of yours. The stirring you feel in your spirit right now, that quiet urgency pressing against your chest, that sense that something is about to shift in your life that is not a random emotion. That is a signal. That is a confirmation. That is the voice of eternity reaching the part of you that has always known the truth. You are not fully of this world. Your origin is not what this world told you it was. You are more than flesh and blood. You are more than a name on a document and a body that walks through ordinary days. You carry the signature of the Creator woven into the very core of your being. The scripture says that before you were formed in the womb, you were known, not discovered. Known, you were known in eternity before time gave you a body. That means your existence is not biological first. It is spiritual first. Heaven spoke you into existence long before the earth had any record of you. Today, your spirit is being called to remember that truth. The veil between what you know in your mind and what you carry in your spirit is thinning. The clarity is coming. The revelation is already here. Prepare yourself. Chosen one. What you are about to hear is not new information. It is ancient memory rising to the surface. Your spirit already knows all of it. You are simply being given language for what has lived inside you your entire life. From the very beginning of your days on this earth, something within you moved differently. Even as a child, even in the earliest seasons of your life, there was a quality about the way you experienced the world that did not match those around you. You were not just living, you were observing. You were not just breathing, you were sensing. There was a depth in you that went far beyond what your age or circumstances could explain. You felt things others did not feel. You noticed things others walked past without a second glance. You sat with questions that others never thought to ask. Questions about purpose, about meaning, about whether there was something more than what was visible. And those around you sometimes did not know what to do with you. You were too much for some people and never enough for others. Too serious when they wanted light-hearted, too quiet when they wanted noise, too deep when they wanted surface level. And that gap between who you were and what the world expected created a loneliness that ran very deep. But that loneliness was not rejection. It was not brokenness. It was not evidence that something was wrong with you. That loneliness was the space between a being designed for eternity and a world built for time. You were never going to fully fit here because you were never designed to be from here. You were designed to be sent here. There is a profound difference between someone who belongs to a place and someone who is assigned to it. Citizens belong. Ambassadors are assigned. And you, chosen one, were never a citizen of this world. You were always an ambassador of another kingdom, carrying within you the culture, the values, the authority, and the frequency of that kingdom. That is why you have never fully settled here. That is why the ordinary has always felt too small for what lives inside you. Every part of you that felt unusual was by design. Your intuition that picks up what is not spoken. Your discernment that reads the spirit behind the words. Your dreams that carry prophetic weight. Your sensitivity that allows you to feel the atmosphere of a room the moment you walk in. Your awareness that something is wrong before any evidence appears. None of that is imagination. None of that is coincidence. All of it is the imprint of heaven on your nature. You were crafted with divine precision. You were not made on an assembly line. You were uniquely, intentionally, carefully formed, and every unusual quality woven into your spirit was placed there with a specific purpose in mind. The Creator does not waste detail. Every part of you that stands out is a tool built for your assignment. If this is resonating with you right now, if something in your spirit is rising to meet these words, go ahead and leave a comment saying, "I am sent." Let that declaration anchor something in your soul. Let it mark this moment as the beginning of your remembering. You are spirit housed in a physical form. You are eternity wearing a temporary vessel. You are a being of light, walking through a world that does not fully understand light. This is the source of your differentness. This is why your presence shifts atmospheres and your absence leaves a gap that no one else can fill. There is no one who can replace what you carry because no one else was assigned the exact same purpose as you. Your spirit remembers a place of perfect clarity. A place where purpose was not a question, but a certainty. A place where your name was spoken with authority and your assignment was sealed with divine intention. Even though your mind does not hold that memory in any accessible form, your spirit has never forgotten it. It is why you have spent your whole life feeling like there is something you are supposed to be doing, something important, something bigger than what the world placed in front of you. That feeling is not restlessness without cause. It is your spirit pulling toward purpose, pulling toward the reason you were sent here in the first place. The world has worked very hard to convince you that you are ordinary. Not always through cruelty, but through slow, persistent exposure to systems built for ordinary people. School systems that measured only one kind of intelligence, social structures that rewarded conformity, religious environments that valued obedience over revelation. Over time, all of that exposure stacked up, and somewhere along the way, you began to wonder if maybe the world was right. Maybe you were not as special as that quiet voice inside always suggested. Maybe the calling you sensed was just ego. Maybe the difference you felt was actually dysfunction. That wondering was the enemy's most effective weapon against you. Not persecution, not attack. Doubt, quiet, persistent, reasonable-sounding doubt that turned your greatest strength into your deepest question mark. But understand this. The enemy does not attack what is ordinary. He does not invest resources in dismantling what poses no threat. When your life has carried an unusual level of warfare, when the attacks have felt disproportionate to your outward appearance, when opposition has been relentless in ways that never made sense to people watching from the outside, that is a spiritual reality being revealed. Darkness always moves against light. It always targets the powerful. It always tries to neutralize what threatens its hold. The level of warfare against your life is a direct reflection of the level of your calling. You were not attacked because you were fragile. You were attacked because you were dangerous to every system of darkness that has tried to establish itself in this world. The enemy saw your purpose before you did. He saw what you were capable of before you had language for it. Every attempt to derail you, to discourage you, to make you quit, to make you shrink, to make you settle, was a response to what he already knew about your future. Think about the things that tried to stop you, the betrayals that came from people you trusted most, the doors that slammed shut right when you were certain you were moving forward, the seasons that felt like complete silence from heaven, the plans that crumbled despite your best effort. At the time, each of those things felt like evidence against your calling. But looking back, can you see what was actually happening? Every closed door redirected you. Every betrayal removed something that would have corrupted what God was building in you. Every silent season was a preparation season. What looked like your life falling apart was actually your life being arranged. Have you noticed how when you walk into a room, the energy shifts, conversations take a different direction? People who were distracted become present, and sometimes the opposite happens. People who are hiding something become agitated. Tension rises in specific corners of the room. That is not your imagination. That is the reality of what your presence carries. You carry something that the spiritual realm responds to, not because you have achieved some level of holiness above others, but because the anointing placed on your life is real. It is active, and it impacts the atmosphere around you, whether you are conscious of it or not. Light does not have to try to affect darkness. It simply does by existing, and you carry light. That light is doing spiritual work around you every single day, in every environment, even when you have no awareness of it. If you have sensed this about yourself, if you have felt your presence carrying something that is hard to put into words, drop a comment right now saying, "My presence matters." You need to own that truth, not out of pride, but out of obedience to what God placed inside you. Now let me speak to the isolation, because so many chosen ones have walked through extended seasons of being set apart in ways that felt deeply painful. Seasons of watching others move forward while you felt stuck. Seasons of having very few people who truly understood you. Seasons of being misunderstood by the very people you loved most. If that has been your experience, you need to hear this clearly. Your isolation was not abandonment. God did not forget you in those seasons. He did not leave you alone as punishment. He separated you as protection. He covered you in hiddenness because what he was developing inside you was too fragile for premature exposure. A seed does not grow in public. It grows underground, in the dark, unseen and untouched, while its root system builds the foundation that will one day support an enormous tree. You were that seed, and those seasons of isolation were the underground work, the root building that had to happen before your emergence could be sustainable. I have walked seasons like that myself, seasons where silence from relationships felt crushing, where the absence of recognition felt like confirmation that I had been wrong about everything, where the gap between what I sensed in my spirit and what I saw in my natural circumstances felt so wide that I questioned everything. I remember sitting with prayers that felt like they bounced off the ceiling. I remember the specific ache of feeling chosen for something, but having no visible evidence to point to. What God was doing in the silence was a reconstruction of everything I thought I understood. He was dismantling the version of me that was built on other people's approval. He was removing my dependence on external validation so that what came out of me could be purely from Him and not from the performance of pleasing others. He was building a foundation that could sustain the weight of what was coming. Because if your foundation is not strong enough, blessing will break you just as certainly as hardship can. Chosen one, your isolation was preparation. It was the hidden chapter that made all the visible chapters possible. And it is ending. Right now, in this season, you are entering. The separation is giving way to convergence. The hiddenness is giving way to visibility. The underground root work is giving way to emergence. And the emergence that is coming will not be timid. It will carry the authority of everything that was built in the secret place. You are going to notice it in the way things begin to shift around you. The right people are going to start appearing in your life with a frequency that feels intentional, because it is. Heaven is aligning human beings with your destiny. People who carry pieces of your future. People who have been waiting on someone with exactly your gifts. They are being positioned to cross your path. And when you meet them, something in your spirit will recognize them before your mind can fully process why. Trust that recognition. It is your spirit identifying a divine appointment. At the same time, connections that have run their course are going to release. This part can feel painful, but when a relationship has fulfilled its purpose, holding on to it does not honor the relationship. It postpones your next chapter. Some people were assigned to your life for a specific reason and a specific season. They were teachers, they were mirrors, they were catalysts who pushed you toward a version of yourself you could not have reached without them. Their departure is not a failure of the relationship. It is the completion of it. Let people leave with gratitude. Your story is expanding beyond what they were designed to be part of. Your perspective is also undergoing a transformation right now. Things that once seemed threatening no longer carry the same weight. Situations that once paralyzed you now feel navigable. Opportunities that once seemed impossible now feel like the natural next step. This is not arrogance. This is your vision being aligned with heaven's view of your life. When you begin to see yourself the way God sees you, your capacity changes entirely. Divine expansion is the next reality taking shape around you. This is the phase where what lives in your spirit begins to manifest in your natural circumstances. The internal work, the character development, the identity built in the seasons of isolation, all of that was preparation. Expansion is the result. Expansion touches every dimension of your life. Your influence begins to reach beyond the people you currently know. Your resources begin to align with the size of your calling rather than the limitations of your past. Your opportunities begin to show up from directions you did not anticipate, from connections you have not made yet, from doors you have not seen yet. Your authority begins to solidify in rooms you previously approached with hesitation. Expansion feels different from striving. Striving is when you are pushing against resistance with your own strength. Expansion is when heaven is opening things and you are simply walking through what is being opened. There is an ease that is not laziness, but grace. You find yourself in the right place at the right moment, not because you engineered it, but because divine timing brought you there. You connect with the right people, not because you networked skillfully, but because heaven coordinated the meeting. This is what it looks like when God accelerates a timeline. Things that should have taken years begin to happen in months. Doors open before you have even finished praying about them. Provision arrives exactly when needed, sometimes down to the very hour. Opportunities present themselves right at the moment when you are asking for direction. None of that is coincidence. All of it is the signature of divine orchestration surrounding your steps. If you are already beginning to see signs of this acceleration in your life, take a moment right now and comment "Acceleration is here." Your testimony might be exactly what someone else in this community needs to hear to keep trusting the process. The expansion also requires something from you. It requires that you make room. Heaven begins to expand what is around you, but many chosen ones are still carrying the old version of themselves inside, still holding the old mindset, the old fears, the old ceiling of what they believe is possible. And a new level poured into an old container creates a mess rather than a miracle. You have to release the version of yourself that survived the hard seasons and step into the version that was built to thrive in the open ones. You have to stop thinking like someone recovering from pain and start thinking like someone positioned for purpose. This means confronting the beliefs that have capped you. The belief that your background disqualifies you. The belief that your failures define you. The belief that it is too late. Every one of those beliefs is a ceiling. And expansion cannot happen above a ceiling you refuse to take down. Your background is not a disqualifier. It is a credential. Everything you came through, everything that wounded you and then healed, all of it becomes part of the authority you carry. Because you cannot speak with genuine power to people in places you have never been. But you have been in dark places, you have been in confusion, you have been in the valley. And because you came out, because heaven brought you through, your voice carries weight in those places that someone who never suffered cannot carry. Your story is not a liability, it is a weapon, and it is not too late. Every year that felt lost was working something into you that you would need for what is next. Every season that looked like nothing was happening was laying groundwork. The breakthrough you are stepping into would not be sustainable without what those years produced in your character. Timing in the kingdom is not like timing in the world. What looks late to human eyes is often exactly on schedule to divine eyes. As you enter this expansion, your identity becomes your most important possession. Not your gifts, not your connections, not your resources. Your identity, because gifts without identity become performance. Connections without identity become dependency. But identity is the foundation from which everything else is built and sustained. When you know who you are and whose you are, nothing that comes against you can permanently dismantle you. Because your foundation is not in circumstances, it is in eternity. This awakening of identity is the final and most powerful stage of what you are entering. It is the moment when the truth you have sensed about yourself all along stops being a whisper and becomes a certainty in your spirit. When you stop questioning your calling and start walking in it. When you stop apologizing for your gifts and start releasing them. When you stop waiting for someone to give you permission and start operating from the authority heaven already assigned to you. In this awakened state, your discernment reaches a new dimension. You begin to sense things in your spirit before they unfold in the natural. You feel the shift in an atmosphere before anyone speaks a word. You recognize divine alignment instantly. You sense when a person is sent into your life versus when they are drawn by something that will not serve your destiny. This level of discernment protects you. It guards what God is building. It keeps you from investing in the wrong directions and helps you move with precision into the right ones. Your boldness also increases in ways that may surprise you. Not the loud boldness of ego, the quiet, deep, unshakable boldness of someone who knows exactly who they are and whose they are. You stop asking for permission to be yourself. You stop performing smallness to make others comfortable. You stop hiding your gifts out of fear that they will make you stand out. Standing out is not a problem for a chosen one, it is a responsibility. It means the light you carry is visible, and visibility is how you fulfill the assignment. This awakening also changes how you relate to your story, every chapter of it. You begin to see your pain with different eyes, not eyes that minimize what it cost you, but eyes that recognize what it produced. The wisdom that came from the hard seasons, the compassion that came from the suffering, the resilience that came from the losses, the authority that came from the warfare. None of it was wasted. All of it was being transformed into something that would serve your calling and reach people who needed exactly what you went through to understand. You begin to walk with a settled peace that is different from anything you have experienced before. Not the peace of having no problems. The peace of knowing that what holds your future is bigger than any problem. Not the peace of having all the answers. The peace of trusting the one who holds all the answers. This peace becomes your foundation. It becomes the place you return to when the world gets loud and confusing. It becomes the anchor that holds when circumstances try to shake you loose from your identity. In this awakened and expanded state, your atmosphere begins to reflect who you are becoming. The favor that follows you becomes more visible. The right timing becomes a pattern rather than an occasional blessing. Miracles become a lifestyle rather than a rare exception. The provisions that arrive, the connections that form, the opportunities that emerge, all of them carry the fingerprint of something coordinated from a level beyond what you could engineer on your own. And the people around you begin to notice. New people who encounter you in this season will sense something different about you. They will not always be able to name it, but they will feel it. The weight of your presence, the clarity in your words, the peace in your spirit that does not waver when pressure arrives. They will recognize that you are not just another person moving through the world. You are someone walking in purpose. And that recognition is not for your ego. It is for their awakening. It is a sign to them that what they have been sensing in their own spirit might also be true. Chosen one, carry a few things with you as you step into this season. Carry gratitude, not as a performance, but as a posture. Gratitude keeps the door of heaven open over your life. It keeps you connected to the source. It reminds you that what you are receiving is not earned but given, and that what is given freely requires stewardship. Carry humility as the companion to your authority. The most powerful chosen ones in history were also the most deeply humble. Not because they denied their calling, but because they understood that the power flowing through them was never from them. Stay humble not as a weakness, but as wisdom. Humility is what keeps you connected to the source that makes everything else possible, and carry patience through the process. Expansion does not always feel like expansion in real time. Sometimes it feels slow. Sometimes it feels like you are standing still while others race ahead. Trust the process. What God is building in you and around you is being built to last. Not just to impress for a moment. Durable things take time. Be patient with it, chosen one. This is your moment, not some distant, uncertain future moment. This moment right now, as these words reach your spirit, is a turning point. Heaven marked this day in your journey. The stirring you felt when you were led to this video was not accidental. The words that have been landing in your spirit throughout this message have been landing because they are true, and your spirit recognizes truth even when your mind is still catching up to it. You are not ordinary. You have never been ordinary. The unusual things about you were never meant to be explained away or apologized for. They were meant to be embraced, developed, and released for the sake of every person your calling is meant to reach. Your origin is not of this world. Your assignment is not for this world to give or take away. Your authority was not granted by any human institution. Your identity was not written by any person's opinion of you. All of it came from the one who knew you before you were formed, who spoke your name in eternity before time, had a record of you, who sees the end of your story from the beginning and already knows that it is good. You are going to look back on this season and recognize it as the pivot point. The moment where your spirit stopped hesitating and started walking. The moment where doubt stopped dominating and truth started leading. The moment where the chosen one inside you stopped being a whisper and became a roar. If this message has moved something in your spirit today, if it has confirmed something you have been sensing but lacked the language to express, leave a comment right now saying, "I am ready." Let that declaration go out from you as a statement of intention to heaven, because heaven responds to declarations made in faith. Together we rise, together we remember. Together we step into the fullness of what was always ours. The light is rising, the time is now, and you, chosen one, were born for exactly this.